Hi and welcome to episode 507. For now, it's just me and Ken, but we're hoping that some of the other guys will pop up. Julian is in England and he wasn't sure if he could make it. And, Mark and Lonnie, I think they are supposed to be here, but I hope they'll pop up in a minute or two. Let's see who we have got with us. Ronnie Parker, hello. Jamie Woodliff, Austin Newland, Siamak Soyo, I think that's the guy from Iran. Bill Phelps, as usual. Thomas Altop, Tim G. There's a whole lot of people already joining us. And today we're going to really take a look back at the previous KissFAQ year. And now I see Lonnie is joining, so I'll add him there. Hello, Lonnie, and welcome to the show. We're just starting off by telling them what we're going to do, and we're going to go through really the episodes from last year, and we do want to know your favorites, and we're actually gonna go through the top 10, the episodes with the most views and listens. And I think there was a big surprise. I didn't think the one that ended up at number 1 would get so high, but we'll look up that in a minute. We'll start off by some news, because there are some news in the Kiss world, and one of the biggest things is Bruce is leaving Grand Funk. Lonnie, what do you have to say about that, and what are you hoping to see from Bruce in the next year?
Well, I think good for Bruce. He's been with Grand Funk for 25 years. That's a long freaking time. And hey, what's up, Mark? And good for him. I think from what he was saying in that interview, that he just wants to have more of time for himself to kind of do things at his own pace. And it sounds like maybe we'll get possibly a Bruce Kulick memoir, which I think all of us would be very interested in hearing his side of the story, especially for his Kiss years and Kiss departure. So it's one of the more looked for. I think we bounce around that a lot. Like, whose autobiography do you want to hear? And oftentimes, at least one of us says Bruce Kulick. So I think that'd be great if we could possibly get our hands on that in the future. So, good for Bruce. I think he wants to do some solo stuff. He just kind of wants to do life at his own pace. He turned 70 years old recently. And, I think the road, and he mentioned like the every weekend with Grand Funk, it's just enough at a certain point.
Yeah, thanks, Lonnie. And we all know Mark is an avid Bruce supporter, so we need to get your take on this as well. What do you think about Bruce leaving Grand Funk?
I'm surprised he was with them for as long as he's been, to be honest with you. But, I understand why he did it, because, with a band like that, you're at least kind of guaranteed a certain amount of money, like as far as making per year, right, with those guys, because they work every weekend, just like Lonnie said, right? So I think that, after he left Kiss, it's not like he had a lot of, opportunities elsewhere to do stuff, right? So he had to take something that was pretty decent, and he did that. And I'm pretty sure that he's probably smart, probably put a lot of that money away. So now he has a good opportunity now to kind of, walk away from it and focus on his own stuff. He can do his own music and he can do his own book. But I have a feeling, though, that any kind of book that he's going to do right now, I wouldn't get too excited about it right now while Gene and Paul are still living, because he's gonna sugar coated and padded while they're around. I'm looking forward to the Kulick book after those guys are underground, because then we'll get to hear the real stuff that happened without having to contend with cease and desists and all this other stuff that's happening. You know how it is. They don't want all the truth to come out, right? So
yeah,
I'm more interested in those books when they're really free to do what they want to say and do.
But you're into the studio work and behind the scenes. Don't you think there can be a lot of cool stuff from the studio and stories from there?
Oh yeah, well, I mean, he could probably talk about a lot of stuff as far as recording stuff, and how the process went and stuff like that. I'm sure there's lots of great stuff, and that I'm sure we can get in the book. But if you're expecting in the book for him to say, one night we were in the studio and Paul brought in these two hot hookers into the studio. Like, he's not going to write stuff like that, even though it might have happened. You know what I mean? Like, he's not going to say that because then Paul hit the roof and there'll be a huge battle, and Bruce doesn't want that kind of crap, right? So, but you know what I mean? He'll talk about the stuff that will obviously still be interested. I'll be interested in it for sure, like hearing about how they recorded stuff and some of the behind the scenes stuff with that. But if people are looking for the sort of what's that guy who always does those you're the father guy? What's that guy's name? That talk
Maury
show
Povich.
guy. Yeah, there's no Maury Povich sort of drama going to be in that kind of book, So if you're looking for that, you're gonna have to wait.
Okay, and Ken, anything to add to that?
Not much other than it seems good timing to me. Maybe it's coincidental or not, but that Kiss ended, and Bruce Kulick is ending his thing with Grand Funk Railroad, which is probably was some steady paycheck, right? So, but so I think there is that possibility, and there's been rumblings about it, about maybe Bruce could be in the Gene Simmons band when that happens. Hoping that I'm hoping that happens. And Mark, I'm gonna spank you for that.
Welcome to the show.
But anyway, so that's the thing. And then as far as the book, he has mentioned the book, and I don't think he's gonna really dish dirt, but he may do it if he does in a polite manner, not be so rude as we've seen in some other books. So we'll see what happens.
I think it will be an interesting read. But other news, Ace has been out there in the news a whole lot and done a whole lot of interviews. I don't know if any of you guys have watched or listened to any of the interviews.
I saw a quote that made me really laugh, to be quite honest. I'll be forewarned here to say that I didn't read all of it, but the quote that I saw immediately made me roll my eyes and say, okay, I don't even know if I really want to read this, but something about Ace saying that now that Kiss is done, it's back to the bread line for Tommy Thayer. He said, I think to myself, are you insane? Like, Tommy Thayer has like 10 times the money Ace really has, like, at this point, easily. I mean, they did this like graphic thing. I don't know, and I don't know how accurate these things are either, but they had a breakdown of it. It says that Ace Frehley is worth like $1.6 million and Tommy Thayer's worth like $13.7 million. So I don't think there's any bread line for Tommy Thayer in the future. I think that's just once again sour grapes on Ace's part again talking, because he knew that he missed out on a lot of years of money, this guy, and it all went to Tommy's pocket. Good for you, Ace.
Lonnie, have you read anything?
Yeah, I saw that. I haven't really read anything, but I did see that quote. That was the headline of the week.
Clickbait.
Right. Kind of made me roll my eyes a little bit at the same time too. It was just like, okay, and at the same time, it is such a shame because I've enjoyed Tommy in the band the last 23 years, but it would have been cool to have Ace Frehley in the band for all of these years as well. I really think that, it would have been fun to see Ace not only at all these shows, but to create more music with Gene and Paul. And it's a missed opportunity. It really, truly is. It's a shame that they couldn't work it out, or, other egos and whatever else get in the way. But, and I think you're right, and Mark's right. It is sour grapes. It's like, that I think Ace looks at it like, oh, that should be me, and he's right. It should be you, Ace. So it's kind of a shame, and we're still taking jabs, even though the final show is over. I don't think the jabs will ever stop, is what it really tells you. No. That whenever one of the original four or anybody do an interview, we're still going to take shots at one another. And we're going to continue to go down that road until the very end.
It'll be a little bit of. I think it'll be interesting to see which road Eric Singer takes after the band ends, because he was quite outspoken the last time he left the band. However, it didn't happen in quite the same way. He was kind of, they just took back Peter Criss and didn't really tell Eric Singer he was just out of the band. So he might have been said a whole lot in anger. But other than Bruce and Tommy are such team players. I don't know. Eric Singer is a bit more outspoken. It'll be interesting to see what he has to say, and if he writes a book, I would be up for reading that one.
That's what I really like.
Yeah, Ken, do you want to add anything about the Ace thing?
Not so much. You guys said it all, but I think though the Eric Singer thing might be a cool book too, because of all the bands he's been a part of, other than Kiss. Before Kiss. And during Kiss, I guess, in a way, because of Alice Cooper and all that. So I think that would be a cool one. We'll see what he does with that. He might wait a while, I'm thinking, to do his book, but we'll see. But the Ace thing, I just don't know. I just it's all sour grapes and whatnot, and we don't know everything that happens behind the scenes. So, right or wrong, I don't know. We're gonna keep getting these little, stabs at each other, in the coming years, I'm sure.
I think I have to agree a bit with Bill Phelps. He writes, Ace has always been my favorite, but it can be embarrassing, and that's true. I mean,
true. Yeah.
Sometimes he feels like he's really out of touch with reality, but he's the spaceman,
You know, I find interesting though about the whole Eric Singer thing is I think that Eric Singer says what he says and said what he said because I think that he kind of has a feeling, and I think rightfully thinks that he can get away with what he says because he knows that he has a little bit of leverage on those guys, Paul and Gene, because really, if you think about it, Peter Criss's drumming and Eric Carr's drumming isn't like, it's not like trying to replace Mike Portnoy or something. It's a rock drummer, okay? But he has something in his drumming that they really love. Otherwise, they wouldn't have brought him back. You know how those guys are. If you bad talk Gene and Paul, they don't want to associate with you very much. But lo and behold, even after what was all said and done, back comes Eric Singer, and he's been in the band for a while. I think that he's a pretty important part to that band. Otherwise, I think there would have been some repercussions for what he might have said earlier. But, I'm glad that Eric's been in the band for as long as he has, because honestly, his drumming style when he joined the band, like for Revenge onward, like on Revenge especially, he was just fantastic. Like, what a great drummer. And that tour for Live 3, that was some of my favorite drumming that I've heard on Kiss songs ever. He took those songs to a whole new level. And I think that they know what they have in Eric Singer, and they might, bite their tongue a little bit when he says something that they don't like.
Okay, that's the news. So let's move on to the episode. And today we're going to discuss the most successful episode, so to speak. The ones that you, the listeners, the viewers, liked the most, or at least watched the most. And do feel free to write some of the episodes that you enjoy in the commentary, so we can see what you liked. And also, keep in mind, what would you like to see in 2024? Any ideas from the viewers, the listeners, that we can, do? Oh, we lost Ken. I hope he'll be back. Let's start off by, we have some stats from the most views from the different countries, the top 10 countries other than the US. And Mexico, Japan, Brazil, Netherlands, Germany, Norway, and I guess the top 4 are the UK, Sweden, Australia, and Canada. So those are some of the countries that have been watching our episodes. That's kind of cool. What do you have to say about that, Lonnie? We're an international podcast.
Well, international, I mean, it's not surprised that we get some love from Sweden and Canada. I mean, 2 of the people on today are from Sweden and Canada. So, but that's cool. I mean, Australia, I interact with some people who listen to the show in Australia, which is really kind of mind blowing when you stop and think about it, that people all over the world tune in to listen to us just bullshit about Kiss once a week. So it's pretty cool, you know, and I appreciate everyone
The
who
Assassin's Creed franchise has a huge
who
What the heck?
That's a huge what?
right? What?
Oh.
Hello?
Yeah.
I appreciate everyone who watches and listens and comments, and you know, it's very appreciated.
Yeah, I see some of the comments. This guy from Iran, he likes the death matches, and
Oh yeah.
you're in for a few surprises. They didn't do too well last year, but I guess people needed some time to get used to them, maybe, because lately they've been quite popular. We have some death matches in the top 10. You'll see some of them there. But let's start off by looking at position 11 through 20 and see the episodes that almost made it. Let's see if I can do this. Okay, have a look at this. And then, Ken, you can start by commenting on these if I manage to get them up there. It's so hard to speak and try to do this at the same time. Let's see now, where the hell are they? Let's see. What does
Did you
they
lose
show? I'm running into some problems here, but let's start off. I can just say them to start off. Oh, now it popped up. It popped. Let's see now. Oh, can you see them now?
There it
There
is.
you
There. Oh, there it is. Close, but no cigar. 11 through 20.
So when you see these
All right.
episodes, Ken, and at number 20 you have a death match, then you have board topics, an episode called It's All About Me, another death match, Alive Kicking and Screaming, death match again, 2 topics from the board, and Feel Like Letting Go, that's episode 476, and at place 11, just out of the top 10, Your Ultimate Alive 480. Is there any of these episodes that sticks out for you, Ken, or anything you want to comment about these?
Well, they the thing I do notice is the trend had been going upward as the episodes have been going along for the most part. So we have kind of gotten a little surge in this last 6 months, I think, in maybe listenership or viewership. I don't know if it's due to how well we're doing or Kiss coming close to the end of the road there. But as far as some of these, yeah, I mean, the death matches I think are steady. Topics from the board always seem to do pretty well. When we do some other things like Your Ultimate Alive, when we focus on music, I know a lot of those do seem to do well. I think we're going to probably focus on some music in the coming year. Like, it's definitely the first album's 50th anniversary is coming up, so I'm thinking we're going to probably do something there. And I expect that to do pretty well. But I think it's just a matter of I don't know if it's a matter of the topics, because some of these you can't tell what the topics are, right? Deathmatch, okay, we're going to match up some songs, but topics from the board is kind of, it's random. But a lot of the people that listen or watch these podcast episodes are on the board themselves, so they probably they spark some interest there.
Yeah, I have to explain. The first column is, of course, the number of the episode. Then you have the name of the episode. Then the next column, that's listens, like on Spotify and stuff like that. And then the next column is views on YouTube. And the last column to the right is a combined result of YouTube and listens from other sources. So that's the combination of all sources. Yeah. Good points there, Ken. I have to say that a thing like deathmatch is almost like breaking in a brand, After some time, people know what to expect, and I think that's why they have, gained more views and so on. And topics from the board that you mentioned, we have 3 of those over here in the top 20, and I think people enjoy them because they're a bit more off the cuff, just picking random subjects and, like you're sitting in a bar discussing with friends. And I do think some people enjoy those episodes more than the ones that are a bit more, like when we have just one topic. They like the spontaneity. How do you say it?
Spontaneity.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes I hate having English as my second language. Some of those words. Well, what about you, Mark? Any comments on these
Well,
results?
I think I'm not surprised because, like you said, some of these topics are always kind of favorites. Like when you focus on like a certain record, if we do like an anniversary of one, that's always good. But I think that the reason why it's doing good, and I have a strong belief in this because I'm involved in a few other similar sort of things, and we've had similar results, is that once you start doing the live streaming, the numbers will eventually start going up and up. I mean, I'm on a live stream on Tuesday, Sundays, and Tuesday nights, and those numbers on there are always going higher and higher. I mean, we started off, it was like 50 people watching. Now we have regularly over 100 people every time listening when we do that. The live streams are becoming much more popular as a forum to listen to podcasts. Most people like tuning in live to hear what's going on rather than going on and checking it out after the fact, because they can get involved with the chat on the side. They can leave their comments and they can get a response to it in real time, where you can't do that when you go back and listen to it after it's already been done. So I think that the live stream is something that has started to catch on with our podcast. And the more that we do it, I think that's going to continue to pull in more and more people. And once we promote it a little bit more on our channels, on our Facebook, that we're actually doing these live things at certain times, then I think that we'll start having a more and more regular listenership to it.
Thank you, Mark. Just before Lonnie starts, I have to give a shout out to Julien, because when I mentioned this thing with live streams, I suggested it to him that we should start doing them. He said, all right, let's do it. Much the same way he did when I suggested we'd do a podcast. Well, let's do it next week. I love that with Julien. There's no
resistance.
No resistance. It's so easy with him when you want to present an idea. He said, let's go for it and see if it works. And personally, I have to agree with Mark that the live episodes, there's something to it when you have a live audience that you can interact with. I enjoy that a bit more. What about you, Lonnie?
No, I appreciate that. The show seems more interactive lately in the fact that we have some of the same characters that tune in every week. We have some new characters that tune in each week, and it feels more like we're having a broader conversation than just the four of us when you see the comments coming in. And I really enjoy that aspect of it. And I really personally, I can see why there's several topics on the board up here. And I think either Ken or Mark hit on it, that it just seems like it's just random stuff. And a lot of times topics on the board are shows about current events or just, hey, what do you guys think about this, talking about KISS? And it is more of a conversation between the four of us and the people in the chat about either about KISS or about current events with KISS or hypotheticals with KISS. What do you think would have happened if this didn't happen, or if they would have went this direction, or why do you think they did this? And it's just more of an off the cuff type of conversation, and there's not a whole lot of prep to it. And Julien may say, well, I'm just feeling lazy this week, so we're just going to do an off the board conversation. But at the same time, those are actually the better, in my opinion, are the better shows, because there is no preparation. It's just the four of us talking and the chat kind of chiming in and us kind of bouncing stuff off of that as well. So those are my favorites, and incorporating the chat into it has really been great.
Cool. I think the variety of the KissFAQ podcast is a real strong thing with us. On the one side, we have all the different topics, all the different, we have the death matches, the topics from the board, and at times we do certain records. But when you look at the back catalog, there are a few episodes that stand out. For example, the Bruce Kulick interview. No, not the Bruce Kulick interview. The Bob Kulick interview that Julien did steadily gains more and more views and listens. So it's well past 10,000 on YouTube, and God knows how many listens on the other platforms. And another episode that surprised me was an old episode like 3-4 years back when we did an episode on the Dynasty album. So I think the records never go out of fashion. If we do a solid episode on a certain record, people will go back and watch that episode for years to come. So I think that's a cool thing with doing more, that type of episodes, not off the cuff, but an episode where we have prepared. If it stays alive, so to speak, year after year, people go and watch it. I think that's kind of cool. Okay, that's 11 through 20. Let's move on to the top 10, and at place number 10. We have this episode. Now I have to do this again. Let's see. La, la, la.
You can do it.
Yeah, but
You can do it.
it doesn't work. Well, I'll tell you what it is. It's episode 483, Getting Hysteric. And unfortunately, Lonnie wasn't on this one. It's when we talked about Julian's latest book, or at least he's released another Kiss on tour after this one, but it's Mass KISSTERIA. So Lonnie, we haven't heard your take on this book. Can we hear it now?
It's fantastic. It's a great just reference point of 1980 it's a period that doesn't get as much love as it should, and Julien just really took those shows and just brought them to light, I think, for everybody, and what was going on in the band at the time. It's great, just like everything else that he puts out, to be perfectly honest. It didn't surprise me how good it was.
Okay, we heard what the rest of us thought about the book. So if you want to hear our points, go to episode 483. It actually got almost 6,000 views this year, 5,640 in total. So that was kind of cool. Position number 9 is this one. I think it's about the ugliest thumbnail Julien ever managed to do. I don't know what that is. What is
Stack of rocks.
Some deep meaning in that one, maybe. Too much or not enough? I don't think I was on this episode. Ken, can you tell us what it's about? Do you remember?
No.
Mark, do you know what it is?
Too much or not enough? I'm trying to remember.
I don't really remember offhand.
Oh my God, I'm going to look it up.
Lonnie, do you know?
I don't. I'm trying to look it up right now.
Does anybody remember?
That's how prepared I am for this show.
Yeah. So it got 4,950 views. So it has to be something about this one that the people liked. Well, I guess you just have to go and watch that episode.
I might have to.
There Mark is showing what it is. 481. Lonnie is looking it up. Do you remember anything from it, guys? What did you speak about? It usually says in the summary there's a summary.
There's nothing in the summary on this one, but let me see.
Well, I wasn't on it. It's up to you and Ken, Mark. It's Julien, Ken, and Mark. So I don't.
Okay.
So I'm off the hook here.
Me and Lonnie are off the hook, but you guys. Okay, let's see if you remember it later on. Let's move on. It's just number 9. Let's go on to.
It just says it's recent topics, so I guess it might be like another board one.
Okay, it's a variant of the board thing.
Yeah.
Number 8 then. A death match, and I think that thumbnail you did, didn't you, Ken?
Oh, the one.
That's
yes.
one of your. Yeah, that's a cool thumbnail. this one surpassed 6,000 views. It was 1.5 hour almost long episode, and once again the death matches. So Lonnie, the death matches. How do you see them developing this year? What are your thoughts on them?
You know, they're fun, and sometimes they're slam dunk song. Sometimes it's just a slam dunk. We pull one name out of a cup versus another. But I think in 2024 they're going to become harder and harder as we keep advancing in these rounds. So I enjoy those because it's kind of off the cuff, and it's just one of our opinion versus another's opinion. And you know, as much as we all like Kiss, I think all 4 of us or 5 of us who do the show on a regular basis all have different favorite aspects of Kiss or different favorite eras of Kiss. So it's, you know, it's always interesting when one song from one era goes up against another. And oftentimes it's surprising sometimes which song moves on versus the other. So, and it's kind of fun too, because it's kind of something you would just debate with your buddies too. So I think those are easy episodes, and I think it's good for the audience, not only in the live chat, but people just watching, you know, on their own time, that they can kind of chime in on their own, like, no, you guys are crazy, this song is better than that song. So I think people enjoy those.
Yeah, Mark and Ken, any matchup that you thought were really hard? A matchup between 2 songs that you remember?
I mean, some of these are pretty far back, so it's hard to remember every matchups.
Yeah, I would say every Gene song.
Oh Jesus, here we go.
Is a tough matchup because I'm outnumbered by 3 Paul guys.
Whenever it's a Gene song versus another Gene song, Ken just throws up his hands and says it's a tie.
It's a tie. Yeah, and just to say on that, too much and not enough. I have some descriptions. The other one that says is Tommy getting the last laugh. Post Kiss book, meaning who will be first to write a book post Kiss.
Okay.
And does owning more stuff make you a true Kiss fan? You know, that's
okay.
So
an episode about the future and collectors and so on.
Yeah,
that sounds kind of cool. Yeah. So the hardest matchup so far between 2 songs for me was Unholy versus War Machine. I don't think Lonnie was on that episode, but actually Unholy beat War Machine. But if I could have said like Ken, I would have said a tie. I mean, there are 2 of my favorite songs.
It's your fault.
Right.
It's really
Daniel's fault. Yeah.
It's my fault. Yeah. Let's move on to number 7. Episode number 7. This one is a bit of a, different kind of show. This one neither of you were on, because this was the episode I did after I saw Kiss 2 nights in Sweden, and I invited some Kiss fans from Sweden, and we did an episode. So this was always my vision when I wanted to start the podcast, that we could have different teams joining, maybe Kiss South America, Kiss Australia, and so on, Kiss Africa, maybe, Kiss Scandinavia. And it was fun to finally be able to do these episodes, at least once a year. I don't want to push away you guys, but at times I think it's kind of a good idea to have something different. And I do know that some of the listeners enjoy getting views from other parts of the world. So it's not just USA and Canada and so on. So I don't know if you guys watched that episode, but we had a fun time, and I think the guys were great, and I thank them for putting up with my questions and so on. So it was kind of a fun episode. So I'm kind of surprised that it did so well, actually. I was really surprised it did so well. So that's fun. We might have to do it once or twice more. Yeah. What do you guys have to say about that episode?
I think that it was good. I mean, like you said, it was nice to have some different opinions about it. But I think the whole thing with this, though, is that it's difficult, I think, to make a podcast where you're going to have constant rotation of people on there, because I don't think people like that. I think people, the older podcasts that are always successful have a core people on them, and they always stay there. Three sides of the coin, Pottered in Hell. All these other podcasts always have the same people on there, and because people like those people and get used to those people. If you keep rotating them out, then people don't know who's coming. They don't know what's coming next. There's too much of an uncertainty. This way, I think the reason why we've been doing well is because we've had the people on that we have on here, all right? But having episodes like this once in a while helps as well, because like you said, it's a change of a pace and it's a different opinion that comes in, and having them on once in a while is a great thing to do. So, I mean, you wouldn't expect Kiss, there's like a Kiss Norway podcast, isn't it? A Kiss Army Norway or some other places as well without having it. But those guys are always the same guys on there as well too. So it makes sense to have different podcasts in different regions. I think that's much more better idea, because they also focus on topics and situations that are kind of central to their country as well. You know what I mean? Because there's different situations that happen in different countries as well. So I think it's interesting from that perspective.
Ken and Lonnie, anything to add?
I'll say that, I enjoyed that episode. And like Mark said, different perspective from, different guys from a different country and so on. It's interesting to listen to, and, I enjoy it just as much as the next, listener or person who watches it out there. So it's good, but yeah, I understand that it's difficult to have a large rotation of people, because a lot of time it's just a matter of having the time to even come here on a weekly basis at a certain time of day. I mean, Daniel himself, stays up real late into the early morning hours to be on a lot of these episodes. Sometimes we do them at a different time to accommodate Daniel more. But yeah, it's not, not everyone has the free time like, I do right now. But so, it is what it is, but it's, the more the merrier, but a standard crew is a good thing too.
Yeah, I think in the beginning we were kind of, rookies, all of us, and I was thinking that the podcast could be an extension of the board, so to speak, that you could get the guys from the board to be a part of the podcast, but that wasn't really possible. And after a while, you kind of understood who you could count on and who fell by the wayside, and so it kind of grew, and at the end it became the five of us, and then we have some guys showing up at times. I saw an episode previously where Andy was a part of one of the shows when I wasn't there, so you can bring in guys like that once in a while, but much as you said, you have to keep like a core in order to make it successful, and in order to make it fun. I mean, if we would rotate all the time, we would have to get to. It's fun to get to know new people, but it's kind of, it takes some time before it's before it feels right.
Hey Daniel, it's kind of like Kiss. You need that core four. And then when you start switching guys, things,
rotate some guys in and out.
That's a good one, Ken.
It's a little diluted.
Yeah. Okay, let's have a look at some of the comments from 2023. We'll watch a little video with some comments, and then you can comment on them. See what you have to say.
Comment on the comments.
Comment on the comments. Here you go.
User Roof4 to all Fiverr writes, when Kiss finish, please carry on the weekly chat's Titania Bell writes, holy shit. Mark in a Bob Isrin shirt. Are we in a multiverse right now? Dana Guitar writes, these deathmatch episodes are some of my favorite episodes. David LaPerdager writes, great episode guys. I look forward to watching you guys every week. All you guys do a great job. It's nice to get away from real life for 1 hour and talk about our favorite band. Thanks again.
So, how much did you pay that woman to recite that? No, I'm joking.
Yeah. So Mark, you were mentioning in those comments. Anything you'd like to say?
I think the Bob Ezrin comment was because I had the Destroyer shirt on that day, so I'm guessing that was the reason for the Bob Ezrin thing. But I mean, hey, like I said before, I don't have any problem really with Bob in general. It's just with Kiss stuff that I have problem with. And you know, I decided to kind of change up my Kiss attire. I have everything black and stuff like that. So I wanted to get a yellow shirt, and that's probably the only yellow shirt I'll ever get. But yeah, I'm glad that people, and that shows how attentive people are when they're watching, that they notice those kinds of things, because that's been more than a few times where people have said, cool shirt, Lonnie, cool shirt, Ken, so that people kind of see when that stuff happens, so.
Anything you took notice of, Ken and Lonnie, in those comments? Otherwise, I just have to say, I think
not necessarily. I read all the comments every week.
Yeah.
I appreciate everyone who comments. I go through them on YouTube or on the board and look to see what people are saying. And the fact that people not only watch this show but then take the time to comment on YouTube or on the board, I think is pretty flattering. I appreciate all of them.
I second Lonnie on that. I try to look at the comments, definitely on YouTube, and most of the time I'll put a like on every one of them. There's a rare occurrence where I won't even, but otherwise it's we appreciate everyone listening and commenting on those, and when we see them on the board too. Sometimes there's comments there.
Thanks. Okay, number 6. This was the 500th. Yeah, the salute to number 500. 500 episodes of the KissFAQ podcast. That's just mind-boggling, isn't it? Lonnie, what do you have to say about this episode doing so well, and what do you have to say about 500 episodes?
That was a fun episode, going through the history of the show, and just talking about how the show started to how it grew to where we are today. We got to do it with the 5 core members of the show, and we got to hear from other members who have joined in over the years, and listeners who have been listening over the years to the show. And it was fun to look back and reminisce how we started to where we are today, and pledging that we're going to continue on and keep on doing what we enjoy doing.
Yeah, I think one of the comments from what that girl read for us was kind of cool. The one that said, "You take me away from everyday life, ordinary life. You're like an escape for me." That's kind of cool. People use this as getting away from real life, much like Gene and Paul says about a Kiss concert. Not to compare us in any other way, but it's kind of cool in our little mini world here of the KissFAQ. Ken, what about number 500 doing so well?
Yeah, that was, it's a big deal making it to 500. It's pretty amazing. But I do agree that, trying to get to 500 is a pretty big task. And for us to keep coming up with subjects, over time, though, we'll rehash the stuff too at the time, because our views change over the years. My views will change on maybe a song or an album from time to time.
Not on Gene's songs though. Not on Gene's songs though.
No,
those remain the same.
No, even that. Sometimes over the years I'll grow to like something more than instead of when I first heard the song or the album or something like that. Years later, I said I didn't like that back then, but now I do like it. It's just a matter of, I guess, either getting to like it or or hearing enough times, and it's in my head, and I become a fan of whatever it is. But yeah, this episode was real milestone for us.
Yep. Mark, any final thoughts on number 500?
Yeah, I mean, doing 500 episodes is definitely a huge accomplishment. This is the second podcast that I'm involved with that hit 500, so I'm pretty blessed to be involved with two of them that got this far, and it's amazing that you can find so much to talk about. But this episode was definitely fun for all the looking back on stuff and having those guests come up like Rich and David, and of course the real guest star was Burnt when he came up there and started chatting up about all his different opinions on stuff, which was fantastic. So it was definitely a fun episode, that's for sure.
Yeah, a big thank you goes out to all the guys that took part in that episode, that tuned in and talked about their KissFAQ experience. Burnt and the guys from the UK, and also Breck is sending in a video, and all those guys. Much appreciated. Let's move on to the next one. And now we enter the top 5. Number 5, with almost 7,000 views and listens. Under the Influence. And this was actually one of my ideas. I stole it from a newspaper that I read a lot called Dagens Nyheter, the news of the day, a big newspaper here in Sweden, where they let people, talk about their pop cultural influences, and they have like authors, filmmakers, and all kinds of persons that take part in this. And I asked you guys to come up with your popular culture influence from back in the day, and it was kind of a personal episode that I really enjoyed. And you guys have had a whole lot of different influences. I know Mark mentioned some old TV show that I've never watched, and the other guys mentioned a whole lot of stuff, but a lot of music, of course. Lonnie, what do you have to say about that episode?
No, I think that was fun to kind of talk to each other about something other than Kiss. So we sit here and we talk to each other about Kiss every week. And it was kind of fun to talk to each other about some of the other things that kind of get us charged up. There was some Guns N' Roses talk on that show, some Star Wars talk on that show, a couple Seinfeld references, and it was kind of up my alley for just some different conversations with guys that we get along with, and we share a common theme with one another, but it was kind of cool just to kind of bullshit about some other stuff that we're passionate about.
What about you, Ken?
Yeah, it was a real fun one. Learning the different things that, how we were influenced, or what we were into, before Kiss, as even, music wise, I listed a bunch of things that I was listening to or heard or was into before even getting to Kiss. Even TV related stuff, I think also.
Yeah.
Like the Batman thing and all that kind of stuff.
Star Trek.
All that stuff. It's kind of it fit right, and Kiss seemed like a perfect fit. For some reason, it was a good evolution for me when I got into them, based on my prior things that I enjoyed, growing up.
Mark.
Yeah, it was definitely fun. I mean, we talked about all those things that sort of influenced us as we grew up, or even nowadays. I mean, I know I brought up Doctor Who, which is a big thing for me that I watched, and I know I did a little small segment about my father as well. I remember I talked about him on there as well.
Yeah, a lot of us did.
Yeah, and yeah, it was definitely good, because I think this was one of those episodes where we know each other so well, but after an episode like this, we seem to know each other even that much better because of an episode like this. So I think it's important to do them once in a while, right?
I think you touched on something important there, Mark, that we get to know each other better. And I think that improves the podcast overall. The more we know about each other, I think the more we can interact and, play around with, joke around and so on. And so I think every once in a while, these kinds of episodes it takes the podcast even further. And I was really surprised this one did so well, because there weren't a lot of Kiss talk in this one, but it doesn't seem to matter. It ended up
No.
at place number 5 with almost 7,000 views and listens. So that's kind of cool. Okay, before we move on to number 4, let's see another video from the viewers. Let's see if I can make this happen.
All right.
Okay, I have to go there, and then I have to... Okay, here it comes.
Valkus writes, Lonnie, great speech about Ace. Atomic writes, I love when Mark talks about recordings and how the guitar effects is done on the records. Hope we see more of that in future shows. Nick Scarpelli writes, congrats Julien and your crew. Ken, Lonnie, Mark, Daniel, and others who have entertained us. Kiss Geeks for 500 episodes. Sylvie Rocks writes, congrats with 500 episodes. Love this 2-hour show. Every Saturday morning I listen to your podcast with my coffee. It's my relaxed time of the week, and like a lot of people said, escaping from the real world. It also helped me through COVID time. I looked forward to every show. And I think it's cool that it's an international show, because that's why you also cover European tours and things that happen outside the USA. Christian Zach writes, love what you guys have built. Congrats. User Ru4CT2UL5R writes, I love Daniel. He says it like it is. Gerald Hugley writes, Mark is right. Music that connects with people is made by people, warts and all. AI won't make music that connects emotionally. Strutter72 writes, this episode is proof why this podcast has lasted over 500 episodes. It allows opinions from all different angles without the egos. Great episode, guys. Keep rockin'.
Okay, we just have to say thank you to the listeners. Great comments, and I especially enjoy those that tell us that it has been important in their everyday life, that it helps them get through things like COVID. That was kind of cool to hear. But let's move on to number 4. Another death match once again. Death match 13. Well over 7,000 views. We've talked about the death matches, but what do you think will happen at the end of the death matches, Mark? Do you have a favorite that you think will go all the way? If you can mention 1 or 2 songs that you think will end up in the final.
I would like to think that Black Diamond could make the final. I think that that's a strong song. I can't see that getting kicked out really by pretty much anything at this point. But
Any Gene song? Any Gene song up there?
Yeah. What if it goes up against a Gene song? It's not going to make it.
Almost Human is going to kill it.
Oh, come on. Against Black Diamond? I mean, that's impossible.
I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
But then, Ken, if you could pick a Gene song that you think will go pretty far in the competition, which one would it be?
Deuce, I guess, would be one that would go pretty far. But I would pick Black Diamond over Deuce. So there you go.
Wow.
Oh, let's not give it all away now. Maybe we know how it will all end. Okay, the top 3. Number 3 was this one, with now it's over 8,000 views and listens. It's the after show party to the last show. We go live for your, what does it say? Your reaction, episode 502. This was very early over here. I watched the concert, and I think we started this one. I think the clock was somewhere around 4 a.m. when this episode started. So if I seemed kind of off, it might have been had to do something with that. But it was still a fun episode, Lonnie. What do you have to say about this one?
It was good. It was we sat and I watched the show with my wife, and it was fun to come upstairs and chat with you guys and get some instant reaction from you guys about not only what we thought about the show and what we thought about the end of the show, and then hear what the chat was saying at the same time. I think that was one of my more favorite episodes of the year, maybe one of my favorite episodes we've ever done. Is to get each other's immediate reaction on what we had just witnessed, which, you know, is the last real Kiss show, maybe you want to call it. I don't know. So that was maybe my favorite show we've ever done.
I think it's kind of a cool historical document to have, you know. Years from now, you can go back and watch your reaction to the last Kiss concert. What about you, Mark?
Yeah, I got to agree. I think this is a real fun one. I think that the reactions that everybody had was real fun to discuss and to analyze. There was a lot of people that kind of stayed. A lot more people stayed up than I thought that would. Then that was the interesting thing. I mean, I felt bad for you, Daniel, because it was pretty late, and even before we did the podcast, I was on Daniel's stream that he was doing while he was reacting to the concert there. And it was funny watching that because, you know, here's Daniel trying to discuss and talk about what's going on. And every 2 minutes, there's 2 or 3 people, turn the camera around. Let's see it. Turn the camera around. It's like Daniel, like trying to explain to them 100 times. I can't turn it around. If I show it, they'll cut me off. You know, it was fun. Like just the sort of back and forth that happened that whole night was sort of fun. And by the time we went and did the whole podcast, Daniel was running on fumes at that point. His batteries were on low. So it was fun though, but definitely I think everybody's reactions to the whole Avatar bit at the end was interesting to listen to, and it was a fun night.
I've never been that tired trying to speak English. All of a sudden, I started speaking Swedish almost, just because I wasn't tired. It was really a strange feeling. I couldn't control. Is it Swedish or is it English? Oh my God, I better be quiet. So, but it went all right. Ken?
Yeah, it was a fun one. I know we've done a couple like that. I think we did a Dubai one, but that was an interesting one. We did while we watched that one. Actually,
that's one of the most popular shows ever. I think it's well over 10,000 views. If you combine YouTube and the listens, yeah.
This one was really fun because you know, we kind of we had our ideas of how the last show would go, and we. You know,
especially Mark has
basically what to say.
Right.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he still needs to run backwards through a cornfield naked, I think. Anyway, but it was good at seeing everyone's first reaction to, you know, the avatars and everything else, and how Kiss did not recognize their former members and stuff like that, you know, but it was a good show, and a lot of people were on that one viewing. I remember it was 100 something. I don't know, you know, while we
it was not only that, everyone seemed to be commenting as well. I was trying to, you know, pick comments. I couldn't keep
scrolling by.
There was a lot of instant reaction for many reasons.
Yeah, so that was a real success and a fun episode. Okay, one final video from the listeners. Let's have a look at it. Let's see now. It's over there. And here, this is a bit too long. It's 3 minutes, but let's see if we can make it through.
Psycho City 1972 writes, "What a great and hilarious episode. One of the best I've seen yet. I love Mark's smack talk on Destroyer, LOL. Can't wait for the next show." DBQRX3 writes, "Is it true Lonnie might leave the podcast to coach the Bengals?" Chuck McFarlane writes, "Mark was on fire, and if I heard correctly, he said that Gene Simmons is going to burn in hell." Paper Sleeves writes, "Lots of wow from Lonnie this episode. Love hearing Mark go off on the Gene studio experience." Tim Cobb writes, "My favorite Kiss podcast. No egos, no misinformation, just friends discussing Kiss. Great sense of humor as well, fun episode. Thanks for the uplift." Cyanamac writes, "I'm listening to the episodes for the second time. I'm on EP.27, Kiss Urban Legends. It amazed me since even me and Iran heard a lot of them, Gene and Cow Tongue." The EWFX writes, "My favorite episode in a while. It's always good to hear the guys talk about some new topics and have some insight on them. It was cool to hear the old stories of discovering music and learning about new stuff. Very enjoyable." Pert writes, The other three, particularly Julien, didn't listen to what Mark was trying to say. Mark is absolutely right. Dakota Skier writes, "You hate Psycho Circus, you better hate Destroyer, Dynasty, Unmasked, and every record after with no original members and studio players. Geez, get over it." Dean Truitt writes, "The voice of reason is incapable of going psycho." Bill Phelps writes, "To quote Lonnie, what song are we trashing now? It is unfortunate that all you guys had so much invested in the band when this record came out. I understand all of the disappointment. Ken is the VOR because he is the only one that is trying to be objective. You guys are affected by all the drama around this album. Great video though." Mark Kiss writes, "Thank you Julien and everyone. This Kiss podcast always informative and rocks. Everyone's opinions are always respected here. Kiss rules." Gordon Jackson writes, "Great show guys, this is the reason I like your show more than the others, everyone is so genuine and love the band." Charles Bronson writes, "I think if Mark is wrong about the last show, then Mark has to run naked backwards through a cornfield." Tarya William writes, "Best Kiss podcast."
Yeah, there are a whole lot of comments this year from the listeners. What do you have to say about that cornfield thing, Mark?
Yeah, it's interesting how I get a lot of support, and then every once in a while there's that comment that comes up, running through the cornfield, eh?
Yeah, I think that
there's
was
no
more of a
cornfields
joke.
near me, so I couldn't really do that anyways. But
It's too bad. Too bad.
We can fly you to Nebraska.
With the Kiss FAQ money, we'll pay for the ticket.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
so lucrative.
I was especially
pay
impressed
to
about
see
Lonnie
that.
going to coach the
Flight
Bengals.
coach. Yeah.
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 Just a whole lot of comments. I thought it would be a cool idea to include some of the greatest comments from the year, and just to underline the fact that we enjoy that you make comments on the episodes, and like Mark said, he always go there and reads them. I think all of us do, and we do enjoy. So please comment if you have the opportunity, because we really enjoy your comments, and that's a way to, improve the show. If you leave comments, we listen to you, and we can change stuff up, or you can even post ideas and so on that we can, copy and do something with. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's see now. The two last shows, the two most successful shows. The second one was this one with over 8,000 listens and views. Satisfaction Lies in Illusions, episode 503. I think it was the episode after this one.
After the last show?
Yeah. So, Lonnie, what about this show?
It was good because I think we had a week to digest the last Kiss show and stop and think about not only what that last show meant to us, but it gave us the opportunity to kind of dive into the avatars just a little bit further, and not just instant reaction of what the hell did I just see. It was also good to get Andy's perspective, another fan who's super fan who was there at the show and his experience at the show, and then kind of seeing the scroll at the avatar at the very end. Weirdness. So, that was a fun episode to do, to kind of everyone just to stop and catch their breath and then do some more reacting to the last show.
Yeah. Ken.
Yeah, that one was like Lonnie said, we had a week to digest it and so on, and that was a lot of Andy's, experience to hearing his first experience, or his not first event, but his firsthand experience, that is, with the whole thing being in New York and where he was and what he was doing, the tour to the Kiss landmarks, and which he set up and did on his, for other people. You know, he did it for other people. So it was good to hear his first-hand experiences of that. Along even Julian's, his experiences there too, because I wasn't there. A few of us weren't there, and it was good to hear how it, what was going on, and I wish I was there to a degree, but in one way, I wish I was there because of the people that I could have met up with. On the other hand, it seemed like the same old show, so I didn't miss it from that standpoint. I saw them 3 times on the end of the road tour, so.
Yeah, Mark.
Yeah, it was good. It was good having Andy on there because again, he was one of the people that was there to see it firsthand. And I got to admire Andy though. I mean, here's a guy who always goes out of his way to do these sort of special events on top of a special event. You know what I mean? Like the last show here, people are going to see, and beforehand, you can go do this tour with him to all the landmarks, all the special places, all the Kiss related things. And for a lot of people who may be newer to the Kiss, history, it's fantastic for them, especially because then they get to see it firsthand, and it really helps burn in that Kiss love into the system, I think.
Yeah, I was really surprised. I watched the episode, and at one point he said he got caught a lot of flack and hate from Kiss fans. You remember him telling you that?
Yeah.
I can't understand why.
He's such a nice guy. He's such a nice guy when you meet him in person too. He's just the super uber Kiss fan, and he loves everything Kiss. I don't get it because he's such a. I mean, I've met him, a handful of times in person. He's such a great dude. He just genuinely loves Kiss maybe more than anyone I know. Just loves Kiss.
Yeah. So he'll only get love from the podcasters on this show. At least we like him. Okay, now it's time for the final show, the most successful show of 2023. Do you remember the most successful show from 2022?
Was it something to do with Loomis?
Yeah, Sam Loomis for president.
Good old Sam Loomis.
I think that was the one. But this year, it is this one. Kind of a surprise for me, at least. It'll be interesting to hear what you guys say. It's We Go Psycho, almost 10,000 views, about the Psycho Circus album.
Amazing.
An album that was never really popular. It has been criticized a whole lot, but this episode went through the roof. How is this possible, Mark?
I have no idea. I mean, like you said, this is not exactly the most popular Kiss record, and it's not exactly like we uncovered some information that nobody knew when we previewed or announced on the podcast. So either it was just the right video at the right time or the right topic at the right time. I'm not really sure. I mean, it's been a surprise to me seeing that this was such a high ranking episode.
Yeah. If you guys out there like this one, we have plenty of them for every album. I think we rank the album. Everyone comes in with their lists from top to bottom, their favorites. We've ranked them, and then we put it all together and get a result. Kind of a fun thing to do. I think we've covered almost every album at least. Lonnie, what do you have to say about this one ending up at spot number 1?
It's surprising that it's 1, but at the same time, it's like you guys, like Mark said, it's not the most popular Kiss album, but it's maybe the most controversial Kiss album of all time.
Yeah.
And I think that it still maybe rub some people the wrong way that are still mad about it 25 years later, or people that just feel like they got duped by Kiss 25 years ago, and it's still just kind of it's like salt in the wound a little bit with Psycho Circus. So I think people do enjoy talking about it. I think it'll always be a topic of conversation in Psycho Circus. I don't think that'll ever change, because I think everybody has their own views on the album. And like just the comments you were playing a little bit ago, there was a comment from a listener, and he's like, "Oh, get over it with the Psycho Circus." And like, I don't think Kiss fans are ever going to get over it with Psycho Circus.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah, there were other Kiss albums that people didn't play on, but when it was labeled the reunion album, and then they're doing interviews at, oh, Kumbaya, things are so great with the four of us, and things were awful with the four of them. I think that, you know, I think Psycho Circus still just kind of grinds some people's gears and gets them going. I think it'll always be a topic of conversation amongst Kiss fans for years and years to come.
Yeah, that's some good points there, Lonnie. Ken?
Yeah, it being the 25th anniversary, and I don't think we have talked about Psycho Circus in the past and so on. But I think a lot of it's due to the music, focusing on the music. A lot of the music or album episodes, I think, do pretty well. I would like to this year, I was going to mention to Julian, to focus in, call it, like a refocus on all the different albums this year, since it's the 50th anniversary or 50 years or whatever, starting with, the first album, and kind of go through as we go along and, relook at them again and try, what are our takes on these albums now in 2024. I think it's always refreshing to, hear our current, views of these albums. It's again, the views seem to change over the years, and mine have changed. I'm sure others have changed too.
Yeah. So that's it. The top episodes of 23. I think it was a good year. Thanks goes out to you guys. I've had a whole lot of fun doing this with you. And we'll just show the score here so everyone gets to see it. Let's see now if I manage to do this. This is, the breakdown of the score. And you see, We Go Psycho didn't have a lot of YouTube views, but it had a lot of listens. Mm-hmm. While the most successful YouTube show was the one we did after the final live show from Kiss. I think it was pretty successful, but it doesn't really matter to us. I think, of course, it's fun that people listen to us, but we've never tried to become, like this big, great podcast. We're just hanging out, having fun, and we'll keep doing this as long as it's fun. So anything you want to add, guys?
Just I was just say, look forward to, the rest of this year and seeing what we can talk about. There's always something to talk about, and I'm sure we'll come up with some new topics. I still want to do we had a double platinum 2 kind of thing, and I want to do a double platinum 3 episode, create a double platinum 3. And I'm sure we'll come up with some other hypothetical things, what ifs, and, just true stuff, digging into Kiss's past.
Okay, I guess that's it for today. So see you next week, guys, and have a nice one.
Thank you for spending time listening to the KissFAQ podcast today. All sales are final, there are no refunds. If you'd like, look us up on Facebook or come over to the KissFAQ message board and discuss the topic we've broadcast today. Don't forget to rate us on iTunes, Spreaker, or wherever you've listened to the show. We hope you'll join us again.
Tickets are available for the Mark Cornfield Run.